Hi, thank you for being here today. My name is Anna, and today's class is one that I actually created as a recovery day practice for myself when I was feeling particularly sore. So this class is really for you anytime you are feeling like you need a little bit more of a slow, mellow, kind of stretchy, feel-good class. So I will be using 2 blocks today. So if you have blocks handy, go ahead and grab them. And we're going to start off on our backs. So take a moment here to set up with your feet flat on the floor, your knees bent. And then you can let your arms rest anywhere that feels comfortable for you. I'm just going to take my arms out to the sides here. And right away, start to feel the stretching of your spine as if you could take the back of your skull and reach it further back. You could take your tailbone, reach it further forward. And feel your back ribs moving or heavy toward the floor. And just start to make your breath a little bit bigger. And just feel that breath moving into your back ribs, into the sides of the ribs. And let this moment just be a little way to just kind of let yourself sink into the floor. And committing to this next, however long this class ends up being, just to recover, to restore, to rest. Let's take 2 more breaths there. And then you can keep your eyes open or closed. We'll walk the feet a little bit wider. And now take your hands onto your front pelvic point, so these bones right on the front of the pelvis. And imagine that you could just lightly draw them together. Really subtle here. Feel the sacrum on the back of the pelvis, heavy on the floor. Now keep that feeling as you just start to gently windshield wiper your knees side to side. And so you'll notice that when you keep the sacrum on the floor, you keep those front pelvic points lightly drawing it together. You're going to feel like we're moving more in the hip joints and less that we're just kind of like bopping around in the pelvis here. Keep going with that. Reach your arms up toward the ceiling like you're holding a tray. And we'll take the right hand, pull the left fingers back. Just getting a nice little wrist stretch. And then switching hands here. And then you can stop that windshield wipering in the legs. Now push down into the toe mounds. Let's just lift and lower the heels. And still feeling those back ribs heavy on the floor. All right, we'll let the heels come down, let the arms come down. Now I am going to take one of my blocks, place it behind my head, roll over onto your right side. I'm going to take the other block on its highest setting and place that under my left knee. So both knees are bent, left knee is on the block. Now take your left hand, stack it on top of your right hand. And then we'll just lift that arm up to about shoulder height. And then reach the arm more all the way from that left shoulder blade. And then we're going to sweep this left arm back over the chest, open it to the left. And sweep it back. reach it out in front of you, and then reach it back and open. So let's keep going with that. As you do, just maintain a little bit of restraint in your front ribs. And so we aren't arching the back to reach that left arm open. I'm just feeling as you reach that arm back that we aren't just letting the arm hang, but that left shoulder blade is really holding the shoulder there to get that opening in the chest. So you can almost feel that left shoulder blade almost like pin onto your back. All right. And then let's bring the left hand back. We're going to slide this block out from underneath your knee and then stack your knees. So the knees are going to be bent. They're in toward your chest a little bit here. Front ribs are holding in. And now lift this left leg just to about hip height. And we're going to come into flexion and extension here. So flexion will pull that knee in, can flex that foot, and then extension, you reach that leg back like you're stamping that foot on the wall behind you. So bring it forward and bring it back. Keep going with that. And really feel that you're keeping that left leg at the same height the entire way through. So it's like you're sliding it along maybe a low table. Feeling that left glute work as you kick it back into extension. Keep zipping up the pubic bone here, especially when that left leg goes back behind you. So we're just moving in the hip, not in the back. All right, and then set that left knee down on top of the right. We'll roll over to the left side. So first starting with this little chest opener, right knee comes on top of the block. I'm going to take it onto its highest setting there. And then the hands stack. The right arm reaches up to about shoulder height and then reach more through the fingers. So we're really moving from this right shoulder blade. And then take that right arm open to the right. Does not need to go very far at all there. Reach it forward and then reach from the shoulder blade. Sweep it across the chest, open it up. So you're just going till you feel a nice little opening in that chest wall. Does not need to be low. And we are using that right shoulder blade as the arm goes back to really plug into the body to support that opening. Couple more here. Let's actually do one more. All right, and then take that block out from under your right knee, stack the right knee on top of the left. The knees might come in toward your ribs a little bit more. And then right leg lifts up just to about hip height, and we'll bring it into flexion and then reach it back into that extension. So keep going there. You can always have that top hand down in front of you for a little bit more support. We're holding those ribs in and just working that movement in the hip. This is an area that gets oftentimes pretty restricted for a lot of people. So anytime we are focusing on recovery, this is definitely going to be an area that we want to hit. Keeping that leg sliding at the same level all the way through, zipping up that pubic bone when that leg goes back into extension. It's isolated in the hip, not straining in the back. One more. All right, can let the knees come back together, and then we're going to come all the way up to a quadruped on your hands and knees. All right, so hands are right underneath your shoulders, knees are right underneath your hips. We're going to take the right arm, reach it straight out to the side, and then feel that left shoulder blade really firmly held on your back ribs. So front ribs are in, not so much that we're rounding the back, but just that the spine is lengthened. Push down into your left hand, and inhale, we're going to turn the sternum to the right. The sternum, this is bone, like your breastbone in the center of your chest, turning from there, and the arm and the head just follow what that is doing. So then exhale, bring it back to where you started. Push down into the left hand, inhale, turn the sternum. Exhale down. 3 more. Push down into that left hand. Inhale. And down. This might mean that you don't turn very far at all, and that is perfectly fine. But we're just trying to get some of this mobility in this thoracic spine, this area, really in the middle of the back. Can get a little bit tight. All right, so this next time, push down into the left hand, rotate the sternum to the right, and now right arm will thread underneath the left. You can take the right side of your head lightly down to the floor. If it feels better here, you could also have a block there as well. But we are putting hardly any weight at all into that side of the head. Keep lifting up in the belly. Then if you want a little bit more here, sometimes it can feel really nice to think about isometrically dragging your right hand back. So that's like you are moving it, or you feel the action of pulling it back, but without really moving the hand. Sometimes you'll just feel a really nice stretch there around that right shoulder blade. Take one more big full breath. And then we'll push down into the left hand, and the right hand will come back down for that quadruped. Second side here, left arm reaches out to the left. Feel this right shoulder blade held firmly on the back ribs. Push into that right hand, and inhale, turn your sternum to the left. And your gaze and your arm just follow that. So we aren't looking up at the ceiling, but your head can slightly turn to the side. Exhale, come back down. Push into that right hand. Inhale, turn the sternum. And exhale, back down. Push down into that right hand. Inhale, rotate the sternum. Side's feeling a little stickier for me. Let's do that 2 more times. This last time, hold it up here. And then thread the left arm underneath the right. You can bring the left side of your head lightly down to the floor or a block here. And maybe just think about slightly dragging that left arm back, the left hand back. Just to feel a little bit more around that left scapula. And really fill up your ribs with your breath. We're breathing into your back. And then we'll push into that right hand and come back up into your quadruped. All right, so we're going to come into our downward facing dog. If you like, you can have your hands on blocks like so here. And let's tuck your toes under, hold the front ribs in, and pike your hips up. Okay. And so you can look down at your forearms for a moment and think about lifting your forearms up away from the floor so that we aren't collapsing down into the armpits, into the shoulders. So think of an upward lift in the arms, in the armpits and the forearms, and then all the way up into the ribs as well. Good. And then release your head. Give it a little shake side to side. And maybe just start to pedal out the feet a bit here. Keep taking those hip creases up toward the ceiling. You can bend your knees as much as you need to. And then let's take your left leg up just to about hip height. Bend your knee. We're going to do this little tick-tocking of that left hip into internal and external rotation. So just think about from the top of the thigh in that hip joint that we're moving there and everything else is staying steady. Step that left foot down, right leg reaches up, bend the knee just from that top of the hip joint. A little tick-tock in and out, keeping the pelvis steady. And we'll set that right foot down. We're going to walk our hands back toward our feet, so you can always take your blocks with you here if you like. But walking the hands back until the heels come down, you can be up on your fingertips with the arms stretched out a bit. And then sit back into those hip creases. You could always take your fingers in those hip creases for a moment just to get that feedback of sitting the hip creases back. Still rooting down through really that big toe mound as well. And let's just pulse the hips here. It's almost just like we're stretching this canvas the entire back. Couple more here. All right, and then from here, I'm just gonna grab a hold of my blocks here. We're gonna turn to the left. So we're facing the back of the mat in a crossed ankle forward fold. So the left ankle is in front of the right, and we'll just do a little rib shimmy side to side here. You can imagine that you were like tossing your rib cage into your left hand, into your right hand, back and forth. Good. And then let's step your right foot back, lower your right knee, and we're going to come up into a 90-90 lunge. So the right glute is working here, the right hip is directly over the knee. Bring your right hand behind your head and your left hand to your front ribs. Think about holding these front ribs in and then pushing really the back of your head into your hand lightly. So we feel this lengthening action of the spine. Okay. Now let's bring your left hand to your sacrum. So we're holding this front body into the back body. Take an inhale breath here. Exhale, rotate a little bit to the left. Inhale back through center. Exhale, rotate left. Inhale, center. Exhale, rotate, not turning in the pelvis, holding that steady as we rotate the ribs on top of it. Let's do 2 more. So we're maintaining that length in the spine, in this core container, and just rotating around it. And then we'll take the right hand down either to your block or to the floor. Left hand comes behind your head. Hold this right shoulder, head down away from your ear, and then lift up into this left side of your rib cage. And think about reaching up and over with that left elbow. Okay. And then fill up that whole left side waist, even into that kind of low back, getting into the hip area. One more big full breath in there. Feeling that support of the right shoulder blade on your back. And then we'll bring the left hand down next to the right hand. Parallel your feet so you're facing the long edge of the mat. You can have your blocks here. We're just gonna side lunge side to side. So again, if you want your fingers in your hip creases, moving them back, that can be really nice here. But what we don't want is the knees going forward. We want the hips going back. And we're maintaining that connection with that big toe mound. And now let's turn to face the front of the mat for a runner's stretch. I'm going to have my hands on blocks on the highest setting here. So we've got the feet kind of on railroad tracks here. And I'm going to be up on my left toes. And then keeping the spine nice and long. Back of the neck is long. We're not jutting the chin forward. I'm just going to rock forward and back on my toes. And so again, we're keeping this crease in that right hip. We're not rounding in the back. That's it. Let's take one more breath there. And then we're coming into a three-legged downward facing dog. So you can have the hands on blocks or not here. The right leg will reach up and back. Bend your right knee. And this time let's circle in the hip. And switch directions. So making that small, making it deliberate. So we are moving within that joint. Everything else is staying really quiet. Now from here, we're going to come into a ballet sit. So the right leg will come in. We're going to lower this right hip down. And the left leg will come down as well. So right hip is an external rotation. Left hip is an internal rotation. I'll turn this way so you can see it here. I am mirroring you on this one. We've got the legs like this, kind of 90-degree angles-ish in the knees. Okay. Right hip is down, and if it feels nice there, you can think about really pushing down into that right hip, and maybe the left hip is up off the floor a little bit here. And we're going to take the left hand, grab a hold of your left ankle, reach the right arm up, and then slightly over. So think more about opening up this whole right side of the waist so it's really reaching high. And then the right hand will come down to the floor. Take your left arm, reach it forward on the diagonal, just like we did earlier where you're reaching from that shoulder blade. And then come up, left hand to the left ankle, reach up with that right arm, up and over. And then right hand comes down, left arm reaches forward. Left hand to the left ankle, right arm reaches up, 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 up. And right hand down, left arm reaches on that diagonal. Let's do this one more time. Right. And then we'll bring both hands down, turn on your back toes, and we're gonna lift into that downward facing dog again here. You can always have those hands on your blocks if you like. Let's come up on the toes here and just swivel the hips and the pelvis a little bit side to side. And we're just getting this nice little scrub for the bottom of the feet as well. And then we'll walk the hands back toward the feet. Okay. And let's have the blocks, if you're using them here, on their highest setting. You're going to lift your left heel up. Stand tall on this right leg so we aren't going back into that hamstring, but really push down and think about pulling that energy up. And then we're going to rotate the sternum to the right and pick that right elbow up toward the ceiling. And then the right hand comes down to your block. Lift the right heel up. Standing tall on that left leg. So pull that energy up, push down into the floor with that left foot. Turn your sternum to the left, and the left elbow reaches up toward the ceiling. Left hand comes down, right heel comes down. Let's turn to the right, all the way around to face the back. So we're in that crossed ankle forward fold again, and just do that little shimmy in the ribs. It's like tossing that rib cage side to side. And then come back through center. We'll step the left foot back, lower the knee, and come up for that 90-90 lunge. So left hip directly over the knee, left glute is working strongly there. Let's bring your left hand behind your head, right hand to the ribs. Think about restraining those front ribs as you reach up through the back of your skull. And then right hand comes back to your sacrum. So we're holding this front body in. Take an inhale breath. Exhale, rotate to the right without breaking this flow of energy. Inhale back through center. Exhale, turn to the right. Inhale, center. Exhale, right. Let's do 2 more here. Holding the pelvis steady, and we're just rotating the ribs on top of it. And then we'll take the left hand down, floor or block. Right hand comes behind your head. Hug this left shoulder down away from your ear. And then lift up into this right side waist. And think about lifting up and then reaching from that right elbow. And then fill up that space with your breath. Lean back into that left shoulder blade. Strong, it's going to support you there. One more breath. And we'll bring the right hand down next to the left. You can also grab a hold of your blocks as we turn our feet to face the long edge of the mat for side lunges. So going side to side, back in the hips. And again, that option, you can put those fingers in your hip creases, sit back in that hip crease, back in the hip crease without losing that big toe connection on the floor. Now we'll turn to face the front for that runner's stretch again. So feet are just a little bit wider, like on railroad tracks. Spine stays nice and long, and I'm on my back toes. And then just gonna rock forward and back, almost like I'm rolling through the feet. Keeping that left hip space open as that spine is lengthening. One more breath here. All right, and then we're gonna come down into our 3-legged downward facing dog. So you can knock your blocks down a level, have your hands there if you like. Left leg reaches up, bend the knee, and let's circle in the hip. So making that smaller if you need to really isolate that within the joint. Switch directions. Holding that pelvis level. And now we're coming into our ballet sit. So left knee comes in, and then we turn a little bit so that left hip comes down, and then the right leg. Okay, so left hip externally rotated, right hip internally rotated. Really feel that weight down through that left glute. So let's take your right hand to your right ankle. Left arm reaches up, and then reach as if you were reaching for something on a high shelf and over a little bit. So we're just opening up that whole left side. Left hand comes down, right arm reaches on the diagonal. Right hand to the right ankle, left arm reaches up, 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 and over. And left hand comes down, reach from that right arm. Right hand to the ankle, left arm reaches up and over. And left hand down, right arm on the diagonal, reach from that shoulder blade. And And then we're coming into our downward facing dog again. So we'll turn on the back toes, right hand down, downward facing dog. Those hands can be on blocks again if you like. Come up on the toes and let's swivel in the pelvis. Nice. And then we're going to start to walk our hands back. I'm going to grab my blocks here. Hands come back to the feet. I'm going to pop those blocks up onto their highest setting. And then right heel lifts up, push down into that left foot, turn the sternum to the left, left elbow picks up. And maybe just let your head release there. Right ear can come toward the shoulder. Left hand comes down to the block. Right heel lowers, left heel lifts. Push down into that right foot. And then turn the sternum to the right. That right elbow picks up. And maybe that left ear comes to the shoulder. And bring that hand down. Now we're just going to come down to a comfortable seat. And setting yourself up in any way that feels nice there. If you want to be elevated on blocks or sit up on a pillow or a bolster or something like that. And then once you arrive, just feel your breath in your lungs. And just letting everything we did today settle in your body, and settle in your nervous system. And just allowing yourself to experience a sense of gratitude for listening to what your body needed today. Maybe it needed a little more resting and restoring, gentle movement. And so that we can be our best and brightest versions of ourselves. So if your eyes are closed, go ahead and gently blink them open. Thank you so much for sharing your time, your energy, your practice with me today. If you enjoyed this class, it is so helpful if you share it with anyone you think might benefit, and like and subscribe and comment and let me know how it felt and anything that you are looking for more of. So as always, thanks for being here, and I look forward to seeing you again next time.